Good morning, everyone. This is Holly. Welcome to Wild Blessings Teaching Tuesday. And this is my apprentice today. This is Bethany Wendt. And she's here to teach us some things, work with me, be my little assistant. And I'm so grateful you're here. Where did you just come back from?
Chicago.
Were there blackberries in Chicago?
Nope.
What? I think they're everywhere. They're invasive, but maybe not in the central city. So, all right. Well, we're going to be going over so many amazing things about this incredible gift. To me, blackberries mean the taste of summer, and the smell of summer, in my opinion, is milkweed flowers. But anyway, we're going to be going into all of the amazing gifts that this plant has to offer. I know it has a kind of prickly reputation. It is so worth it, though. It is such an incredible gift for food and for medicine. You're going to learn things about blackberry you had no idea. On my counter are all kinds of things that I'm going to be talking about for what's on Nature's Wave for my next class. And I'm actually going to do that class tomorrow and then post it next week because I'll be out of town. So I wanted to go ahead and share with you some of the things that we're going to be doing today. So we're going to be making a stuffed French toast with blackberries, and Bethany's going to be helping me. But we just went out, and what did we just go do?
We got some blackberry
Canes?
Yeah.
And also she picked these blackberries right there. And what did you put them in?
A poplar leaf.
Poplar leaf. All right, so if you're out and about and you see blackberries on the loose, you know there's going to be poplars nearby. This is what the leaf looks like. And so Bethany's going to show us how...
Like it's as big as her face?
Yeah, it's covering her face. She's going to show us how we make these blackberry buckets or baskets, and so out of the poplars, and then we can use them to fill with the blackberries, which is super fun to do. So go ahead and show us what we're doing. You're taking scissors to do what?
Cut the stem off from the leaf.
And where do you cut it?
At the very base of the leaf right here.
Very nice. Okay, go ahead and do that. All right. Now, how do you make it into a basket?
Okay, so I'm not that good at this, but you fold this part in and make sure it's folded pretty low to the bottom of it so that there are no holes.
But you don't want to make a crease, though. You want to keep it kind of loose.
You don't want to make a crease. I found out the hard way. And then you fold these things the sides in like this.
Okay. So what she's doing, because you got to hold it up so people can see, she's folding in the bottom section like that, and then she's bringing in the little arms like that on either side. Okay. And now what?
And then what you do is you take the stem and you hold it like this and make sure you get through all the layers, and you just pop it through there and then weave it
back?
Yeah, weave it back.
So that it's catching all the layers.
Yeah. Like this. You
did it perfect. That's awesome. So this is a fun thing to do. I recommend y'all do it. And and every day, actually, Max and I go out to spend time alone with God on the mountain, and the blackberries have been ripening all around. I remember thinking, the berries will ripen all around. Persistence always pays. And that whole thought would just captivate me. And so early in the spring, when they first start coming up, there's so many gifts of blackberry. Even the roots and the early little buds are incredible, and the canes are incredible, and the leaves are amazing. And we'll get into all of those things as well. It's not just the berries, but then when you see the flowers come out, and then you think, oh my gosh, I can't wait for the berries. But you do, what do you have to do? You have to wait, don't you? And because if they're green, that's what?
That means that they're not ripe yet, and they taste terrible.
They're very astringent. And then they turn red. Are they ready then?
No, they're still not ready yet.
And then what color do they turn when you're ready?
Black.
Black. And how do you know if it's ready to be picked?
You, so if it's ready to be picked, it comes off very, very easily. You just have to touch it and then it'll pop off. But if you have to put just a little bit of effort in, it's not ready.
Yeah. So
Even
it's
if
worth
it is
waiting. It's
black.
kind of like a banana. Like when a banana is green, is it ready?
No.
Nope. So you kind of have to be patient and wait.
Mhm.
All right. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about waiting in just a second, but I'm going to get her busy first making a blackberry balsamic vinegar. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take these blackberries that I got yesterday with Max and pour maybe half of them in here. And then after you get them in, then I want you to mash them a little bit with this. So when you got that going, then you're going to pour the balsamic vinegar that I made last January with the pine when I taught on pine. Our first class was on pine. Pine is amazing. And so I made a balsamic vinegar, which I've been using. You can see I'm almost out of it, but I thought, oh my gosh, to have a blackberry balsamic vinegar with a little bit of oregano infused in it would be so amazing for salad dressings, and so really yummy. So she's going to go ahead and do that right now. So go ahead and pour half of those berries in. She's going to smash it up just so that we can get the cell walls broken up. And these actually are not actually berries, and they're not really fruits. And we'll talk about what they are in a minute. Perfect. And now you want to take this thing and just smash it. You can put it on the counter and just smash down. Okay, remember I told you that when you're dealing with vinegar, you don't ever want to have a metal lid because metal and vinegar don't get along. So I don't actually have a larger wide mouth plastic lid. So Bethany's going to put plastic from a baggie between the two. And of course, we'll label it later. Okay, hon? Not right now because we're running out of time. So that will be, there's a whole bunch of recipes that I'm going to be posting in my Patreon account of all of the blackberry things that recipes from all the baked goods to vinaigrettes and ice creams and candies and all kinds of amazing things, and the medicines that you can do with blackberry. That's perfect. So go ahead and put that in the sink so that it's not staining my counter. And then go ahead and pour that in, and I'll get you a plastic baggie.
All of it?
Pour it in until it's not overflowing. Like, does it fill it up? Yeah, go ahead. I think you can do all of it
Okay.
because it's not going to overflow. Every bit. And then you can put that in the sink. Then we're just going to take a piece of plastic, and I'm going to make it a little smaller. It would help if I had scissors that actually work. So now that she's going to take this and put it between the rings, the metal rings, which I'm not sure, here it is. So we don't want to use this part. We're just going to use that part and put it on nice and tight, and then just stick it right here on the counter. Put it on top of this. All right. So we'll let that infuse and stir it like every day for a while. And that will be really, really delicious as a salad dressing. Okay. All right. So now Bethany's she's going to chop up this bread because we're going to make stuffed French toast. I'm showing you what I want done. Okay. So make it nice and small. And this is kind of like a stale sourdough. It's not totally stale, but when you're making a French toast, you want all of this cut and small. You want to definitely have it be, well, I like sourdough because of the fermentation, but also I like it to be a little bit stale because I don't want it to be soggy when we bake it. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. All right. So then this is cream cheese, which we're going to be, I want you to use only this much of it.
Okay.
Hold on. And the rest of it I'll just put here because I don't really want to deal with it. So you're going to break this up into little cubes as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put this over here where you can work without having to be distracted. And when you're done with that, then just tell me so that I can show you what to do next.
Okay. So just cut them up into like this.
Uh-huh. Yep. Okay. All right. So I think I'm really hot and sweaty because we were just out foraging. So this is a blackberry tea. So you can take blackberry leaves, which are also amazing, and you can steep those into a sun tea and then flavor them with blackberries. So let me see what. Come over here, Bethany. Let's try the tea first and see what you think, because I know you're hot too. We'll click together. Cheers. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yum. And then I sweetened it a little bit more with monk fruit. So I think monk fruit has a really great glycemic index. So you can keep that over there so you can just drink it away. And if you want more, there's more right here. Okay. Whew. It is hot in here. Okay. So I wanted to talk about our verse for today. And so the scripture says, and I need to read it in my devotional too, because I was reading this the other day, and this is where I came up with this verse. And it was talking about the importance of wait. He is a wise gardener who waits for the land to yield its valuable crop and is patient for the autumn and the spring rains. God knows he cannot gather the fruit until it is ripe, and he knows precisely when we are ready to receive the blessings for our gain and his glory. And waiting in the sunshine of his love is what will ripen our soul for his blessings. And also, waiting under the clouds of trials is as important, for they will ultimately produce showers of blessings. So I was just so stunned by that, because when I think of blackberry, I think of waiting for them to ripen. And you just know the process. And the more time you spend watching the life cycle and watching things morph from the seeming death of winter into the new life of spring, and then blossoming into the flower, and then blooming into the flower, and then burgeoning into the fruit, and then watching it ripe, it's worth the wait, because you've seen it happen year after year, and you're familiar with that process. And so therefore, those things in the natural realm always point to the spiritual realm and to spiritual truths that are deeper than we realize. And so the more time we spend in nature thinking about these things, the more we can trust God, because his timing is absolutely perfect. And I don't know about you, but I like to wait for the blackberries to be just ripe. And like she was talking about, where they fall off in your hand, because that's when they're sweet and that's when they're the most delicious. But all through the season, you're going to see that blackberry offers amazing gifts. So it's worth the wait. All right. So let's talk about, I never welcomed you guys. Welcome new members. Renee Tubiola is one of my dearest friends. I'm so excited when I saw you asked to join. So welcome, Renee. I hope you're watching this. Welcome to all of you that are new. I just am thrilled that you've joined me. And the way you'll get the most out of this class is by participating and by commenting and asking questions. And I'll always post something about what we're eating wild, so you can always plan what it is that you can put your post about what you're eating wild on that thread, so it doesn't just blow up the feed. Yes. So invite a friend to, if this blesses you, and you can share it with others, and connect with me by commenting and connecting and sharing poems. So we have some amazing poems on poison ivy that I forgot to print out, but thank you for all of you that participated in that. And I will be extending that until tonight, and I'll announce it. I'll probably actually read them on Wild Blessings, so you can all hear everybody's poems. But thank you, Suzanne, and thank you, Jody, and thank you, Vicki. I do remember hers. Our class last week was on poison ivy, and we talked about how the leaves can be shiny. And so she had a really funny meme about that. So you'll hear that. And
well, people should look at the comments.
Yeah, look at the comments and you'll see it. But if you haven't participated yet and shared a poem, you have a chance to. And whoever the computer picks as the winner will get to come to my Forge to Feast, which is a $65 value, for free in the fall. So you're not going to want to miss that, especially with all of the abundance and of the harvest in the fall of the wild abundance. So please join us. Join me by just writing a poem about poison ivy, which I think it deserves a poem. Here, Jace, did you want some?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anything about the waiting thing. The berries will ripen all around. It's the taste of summer wildness. Keep your eye open every day along the hiking path for developing and ripening fruits. They are worth the wait. So the memory verse is, be patient like a farmer who waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for rain. And that's James 5, verse 7. And so just like the farmer waits patiently, and he's really familiar with the life cycles and the whole plan of the way things work, a farmer doesn't open up plant a seed and then wait a couple of days and think, well, it's not coming up. He just waits. He doesn't open up the soil to see if the seeds, the endocote is opened and the little embryo is coming up. If he did, he would destroy the harvest. So we just need to wait patiently, wait expectantly, wait confidently, wait joyfully, wait with patience and without grumbling for anything in our life that we're waiting for. So blackberries teach me about waiting. And they also teach me about boundaries, and poison ivy does too. In fact, I forgot to share with you the gift I think poison ivy offers is that poison ivy will make you pay attention. It will get your attention if you don't pay attention. So it makes you alert. It makes you aware of your surroundings, because if you're not, you will pay the consequences. Well, it's kind of similar to that with blackberries. So let me see. I'm going to go ahead and pick it up. How did the dog get out?
He just followed me. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I don't know how I'm going to pull this off with him right here. When you're harvesting blackberries, you definitely want to have gloves and long pants and long sleeves and boots and things to protect your body from being grabbed at with its thorns. And they're actually called they're called prickles. They're not actually called thorns, but to me, they're really thorns. Yes.
Okay. In as much as you created a wonderful little place to keep your berries when you're harvesting,
Here,
I want to show, excuse me?
Put it in here.
Oh, no, thank you.
Well, that's how I do it.
No, thank you. I'll show it.
Okay.
This is the man's way. This is how we do it when we want to collect berries, blueberries or blackberries. I just take one of these milk jugs, cut off the top, and now you got a handle. And of course, she likes to put it through her belt, but this is the way.
Yeah.
And then you can rinse it out, dump them out, have a couple of these around ready to go when it's berry season. So that was
But if you put it on your belt, then you don't have to, you can have both hands free. And one of the things I've learned with blackberries is it's nice to have a glove on one hand, the hand that you're pulling the cane away, so that you can grab very tenderly the fresh berry and put it directly into either your little poplar basket or into your plastic jug or basket or whatever. So thank you, Jace, for sharing that. Yeah, he came up with that. I think that's pretty cool. We have a lot of blueberry bushes, and he's our blueberry harvester for sure. All right, so let's talk about getting to know. Oh, let's talk about first the making the stuffed French toast, because if we don't make this now, we're not going to be able to show it to you. So what she's done is she cut it all up. Well done, and I'm going to bring it over here. Now you need to get those eggs and beat them up. So the eggs are there, and here's can you show her where the forks are? The fork.
You go back over this way, and you can chew it from over there.
Well, she's just going to beat eggs over there while I do this.
All right.
So I'm going to take these and throw all of this bread into the bottom of an iron skillet. Right there, that drawer, you'll find a fork, and you can whip up the eggs. So, wow, this is a lot, actually. We're going to have a really nice lunch. So if I was going completely wild with this, I would add all kinds of cool things. Like I would make bacon out of burdock root, but we're not talking about that today, so I'm just focusing on blackberry. And then you take this cream cheese and you just kind of put it around in little drops, little balls. And I have, I don't know, over 50 recipes that I love to use with any berry, but that I'm putting on Patreon. So make sure you check that out. And guys, you can really support me by joining Patreon. And I don't have a lot of time to put extra on there, but it really would be a blessing to have you guys join me there and help me keep these classes free on Teaching Tuesdays. So now that I've got these around like that, and she's whipping up those eggs, and in the eggs, we're going to put some cinnamon and some nutmeg and a little bit of maple syrup. And then we're going to take all those blackberries. Let me move this over here. Okay, so here's some blackberries. So I have like a freezer full of these because every day I just collect at least one of these with Max, but they are just, the abundance is still yet to come. So these I had in the freezer, and I'm going to go ahead and just sprinkle them all around. How's the eggs coming, hun?
They're good.
They're good? Okay, let's add a little bit of oat milk to that. And you can do this with gluten-free bread. This is not gluten-free. It is fermented sourdough, which is great, but it's not gluten-free. All right, and then I love to use oat milk. So we're going to add some oat milk. Bring that over here, sweetie. And Max is trying to help. Max will love eating some of this. Go ahead and put that down in there. No, I mean, put that in there. That's it. Good. Okay, can you add some milk to that?
Mhm.
As much as you want. I don't care. Just figure it out. And what else? I'm looking for my cinnamon. You know where I put my cinnamon and nutmeg? There it is. So one year, Jason and I went to, where did we go, honey? In San Diego, to that place where all those rocks were, Julian or something like that.
Mhm.
All right, there's some cinnamon. Keep stirring. I would add a little more milk and a little bit of nutmeg. I don't really ever measure much. And then, but I will give you the exact, what the recipe calls for. Okay. And then I want to add some maple syrup. Keep stirring. And I'm going to get the oven heated. So turn the oven on. And we'll wait till that's nice and hot. It's nice having you around. All right.
Now, how
So-
long is it going to take to cook?
Yeah, we might have to show it later or show how it's looking midway or something because I don't know. We're going to have this for lunch. What'd you have for breakfast?
Some cereal.
Good. So you didn't have any eggs because you're getting your eggs this time. And tell me about your chickens.
So we've lost a bunch recently, and they've been running pretty well.
What are their names?
Okay, so there is Blacksmith, the head hen. I mean, she's like,
Why'd you call her Blacksmith?
because she's really dark, really dark, black. She's dark black,
Okay, are you?
and she gets dirty a lot, and like it's hard to explain, but chickens, like, they have expressions, and she has like a firm like expression. It's hard to explain. It's
Okay. Is she like a cranky chicken?
Oh yeah, she's
Is she your favorite?
No, I've lost all my favorites.
I'm so sorry. Anyway, these eggs are from your chickens. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Before we get started with talking about blackberry, I wanted to show you how I make a syrup. So I just took the blackberries and added a little bit of water to it. I did that this morning, and then I heated it, simmered it. You never want to really boil something that you're trying to get nutrients from. Blackberry is a blood tonic like no one's business. So if you had blackberry syrup every day, it would definitely build up your blood. So what I've done is I want to get rid of the seeds, and I'm going to tell you what I do with the seeds because the seeds are they're amazing. They're full of omega fatty acids, of omega-3s, and that's really good for heart health. And so I'm going to save these seeds by using this little mesh. Do you have one of these at home? No, you need one. Okay, and so then I've got this thing as well, and so I'm going to put this in here so that I can get rid of all of the seeds. So I'm going to pour this through, and I had added you can add maple syrup, you can do sugar, and you do it to taste. You can also add to it ginger, astragalus, anise, whatever you want. And if you want this to be really medicinal and not just tasty, you could add some of the green berries because that adds an astringency that is really good for you as well, even though it might not be that delicious or tasty. But look at how that captured all those seeds. I'm going to take these and I'm going to put them in my dehydrator and then dry them at or maybe I'll just stick them on the car on the windowsill so that they'll dry out on a hot day. But today's kind of an overcast. It's kind of cool outside, actually.
Feels good.
It does feel good. All right, so now that I've got that, you can go ahead and put this over in the sink for me. Don't drop that out because I'm going to save it. So now I've got all of this good syrup. If you want it thicker, you can add pectin. Have you ever worked with pectin?
No.
Nope. Well, it's for making a jam or a jelly. All right, so then I have already labeled, and I always find it's easier to label in advance, blackberry syrup. You can add pectin to it or to make it thicker. Then I'm just going to pour it in here. Look how beautiful that is. Oh, my goodness. So what can we do with the syrup? What do you do with the syrup?
Sometimes Mom makes cheesecake and she makes blackberry syrup and she pours it over cheesecake.
Yep.
And then sometimes we have this blueberry casserole thing. It's like all sweet and
Kind of like what we just did?
yeah.
Okay,
It's
cool.
Blueberries.
Yeah.
And she makes us syrup, and then she puts that over it. And then sometimes she makes cakes, and then makes homemade whipped cream, and then she makes blackberry syrup, and you pour it all over the thing.
So you have a lot of blackberries at your home. That's pretty cool.
A bunch.
That's
We
so
have
cool.
some in the creek and some, like a lot down the creek. And then we have some in like this brush where, like on the far right of the house when you're facing the creek. We have a lot in that brush over there.
Yeah, I went over last night to get some lamb's quarter and some poke from their house. The lamb's quarter's over there. I was amazed at the wonderful weeds you guys had. But it was just so much fun seeing their property. All right, this is another way that you can collect the blackberries. Just save these from when you buy strawberries at the store or whatever. And you can use these to, they're called, what are they called? Jelly shells? I don't know what they are. But anyway, these are another way to collect them, to keep them. They're highly perishable and they're easily bruised. So this would be a good thing as well. Okay, so I think we're done. And you can go sit over there and then just listen. And if I need you, I'll call you. When you come around this way so you don't trip over Jason. So go around this way so you don't trip over Jason's stuff. Okay, so now I want to introduce you to Rubus. So the family name is Rubus, and it is in the family Rosaceae, which is the rose family. And all of the rose family members have 5 petals and 5 stamens. And so in the early spring, when the blackberry flowers are out, they're either a white or kind of a pale pink. And of course, they have the 5 petals. So let's look at it and see what it looks like. So when we befriend a plant, ouch, this is a...
Why are you wearing gloves?
because it's mean. Oh my gosh. It's stuck to me. All right, so this here is a blackberry cane. And so the family is Rosaceae, and Rubus is its formal name, and Fructuosa is from Europe. This is actually from Europe. Where does it come from? Where are you from? From Europe. And so it is an invasive here in the United States. I think it probably is there as well. And so considered an invasive, so much so that in Portland, Oregon, they consider it an absolute passion to annihilate all the blackberries from their land because they are so crazy difficult to get rid of once they take root. But the reason, well, let's talk about what they look like, and then we'll talk about why they're such an invasive problem. So first of all, they grow, the structure is they grow either, well, they kind of like lay out like a long cane, sometimes up to 8 feet long, 10 feet long. And they have, the canes are rather hexagonal and hard. And along the canes, you're going to see some really hard thorns, and they're called prickles. Well, the thing with this is that these guys grow up together, interwoven, and they become a bramble. So if you've ever heard of a blackberry patch, it's actually called a bramble. And to go through a bramble is almost impossible. So honestly, if you've got blackberries growing, it's probably because there's disturbed land. So it comes back to protect. You remember in the story of Sleeping Beauty? Do you remember that story of Sleeping Beauty? Remember she pricks her finger, and then what grows up around the castle? Thorns.
Yeah.
So it's probably blackberries. And so the idea, I was listening to what's her name, Cascade Geller, and she was talking about how blackberry is very protective, and it's protecting the environment. It's healing the earth, and it's very invasive, which is a good thing if you can understand how to propagate it, to use it for your health and for your food, medicine and food. So let's talk about the leaves. So the leaflets are either 3 or 5 in a leaflet, compound leaflets. And they're venation. My glasses. Let's look at them. So the venation is kind of like pinnate, or like very parallel lines. And the margins, which are the edges, are serrated, sometimes double serrated. And then these thorns, or these prickles, or what they are called, are not only on the cane itself, but they're also on the back of the midrib, all along the back of the leaves. So the leaves can actually catch your clothing and rip at it as well. So they're definitely trying to get your attention, and they're also trying to teach you stay away. So really, if you're a bunny rabbit, the best place to live is near a blackberry bramble, because no large animal is going to charge in after you. Okay, so then the little berries grow after they've been pollinated, and they just get bigger and bigger. And here they are red, so these are not ready at all. And I felt bad picking this because I knew it would not ripen here now that it's cut. But there's so many millions of them here on my mountain, I'm not really too worried about it. I just wanted to show you. So the cane is called a cane, not a stalk. And let me show you some of its relatives. So these are cousins, and they're in the hallway on the floor, and they're huge. So I'm going to be really careful. The way you can tell the difference between black raspberry and red raspberry and dewberries and blackberries is because when you pull the berry, this one wasn't ready, but the actual stem comes with it. So it's filled when you take off the blackberry. But with the raspberry, it's hollow because the stem does not come with it. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So we'll say goodbye to this very prickly friend. And I'll be right back. Okay, so here's black raspberry. So notice the difference. Woo! Holy cow. I don't know. Maybe I should have just taken one of them. Wow. See how they get interwoven? So it's really kind of explaining exactly what I was telling you about. You can actually cultivate, and they cultivate. Oh, this is blackberry. So here's a difference. This is the hexagonal cane and the really large prickles. Now, let's look at the difference. Do you see how that's kind of a reddish green stem or cane? This one, what color is this? It's kind of a silvery color, and lots and lots and lots of prickles that are not near as painful. And this is a black raspberry. So let's see if I can find some of its fruit. Man, Jason, I'm getting all stuck. Yeah, don't wear clothes you care about when you're around this stuff. Okay, so yeah, here's some of its fruit.
Yeah, hold it so we can see.
I'm trying to get to it. There it is. Whoops, they're falling off. See that?
Now, what's the difference now?
Okay, now when I pull off the fruit,
similar.
yeah, I know they do. So let me show you. This is really huge. Now watch the difference. So when I pull this off, watch what happens on the inside. Do you see how hollow that is? See that? It's actually holding a piece of leaf in there. That's hollow as compared to the blackberry is not. It carries the stem with it. And also the back of the leaf of the black raspberry and the red raspberry are kind of a silver color as well. There's some more fruit. Okay, so other than that, they really do have a lot of similarities in their constitution. Oh, look, see this one here has 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaflets. So sometimes they have 3 and sometimes they have 5. All of these have 5. There are many, many species, of course. to confuse us. And so you will absolutely, these are much harder to rip off your clothing because these thorns are so intense. Okay. So these always have just 3, and the blackberries sometimes have 5 leaflets in its compound leaf. Does that make sense? I hope I was clear. Okay. All right. So fortunately, I've got both on my mountain, which is exciting. I'm just going to step on this stuff. I was wearing gloves for obvious reasons. Okay. So we talked about its stature. Okay. Now let me tell you about this. This is interesting. Its roots are perennial, which means it'll come back year after year. But its canes are biennial, which means they only live for 2 years, and they don't fruit until the 2nd year. But scientists have been messing around with it, and they've come up with a kind of blackberry cultivar called a primocane that will actually fruit on its 1st year stalks. And afterwards, we'll talk about how we can propagate and get more blackberries, even from your wild blackberry collection, which is probably all over your mountain if you live here in the high country. All right. So does anybody see my, this is crazy. I shouldn't have worn a dress.
I'm not about to grab those.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm going to throw this out here so that I can walk easily. Okay, so we talked about what do I look like, and so now we know what it looks like, what its family is like, and its relatives, the raspberries, black and red, and there's differences between the black and the red, which we won't talk about right now, but Michael Moore calls it YARFA, and YARFA, I'll write that down, YARFA stands for Yet Another Rose Family Astringent. So all roses are very astringent, and astringent means they will pucker your mouth and just dry you out. And blackberry is also cooling, so it's interesting. It has both, but it's kind of a medium level astringent. So like red oak or white oak is very strong astringent, like will super dry out a very wet, leaky constitution, whereas strawberry is really mild and blackberry is kind of in the middle. So all of them have similar constituents, but they're blackberries kind of in the middle as far as astringency. So cooling, anti-inflammatory, astringent tonics, which are amazing for weak and flaccid tissues in your body, which we'll talk about when we get to medicine. We talked about how it's considered an invasive. It's an exotic, meaning it came from Europe and not from here. It loves to live. Where does it live? It loves to live in full sun, and it loves to live where disturbed soil is. So last night, as it was getting dark, I went foraging up at the top of the mountain where my war zone was, where there was a huge clear cutting. And all along those logging paths are millions and millions of blackberry brambles, which is exciting because there's so much food there to be harvested, but it's very difficult to get to. So it keeps you on your toes and looking for more. All right, so quirks and oddities. We talked about wearing gloves and having at least one glove where you can hold the cane away and get to the stuff that's behind there. So Bethany was talking about how, gosh, you know, like you look at it from one angle and you think, I got all the blackberries, and then you walk around and you see, oh, I missed that one. They're kind of like playing hide and seek, and it makes it kind of fun. And we were talking also about how glad we are that the fruit doesn't all ripen all at once, because if it did, it wouldn't be something we get to keep looking forward to, kind of like delayed gratification. So even though we got a lot of blackberries in the freezer right now, we're cooking with it right now, making syrups and making jams and jellies, we've got lots and lots more weeks of blackberries to look forward to. And there's ways to actually keep blackberries bearing fruit even up to October, which is exciting. All right, so let's talk about its nutritional facts. It is high in vitamin C, vitamin A, and vitamin K. And that's huge because humans cannot synthesize their own vitamin C, and vitamin C is really needed for protein synthesis and also for developing neurotransmitters in your brain. It's needed for lots of things, but it's very, very rich in vitamin C. And then in vitamin A is important because oh, let's see, what does vitamin A do for us? It does so many cool things. Vitamin A. I should have had that all in one spot. I'll put that in the notes to let you know what vitamin A does for you. I think it really helps with eyes, or maybe that's K, and then also with vitamin K. So just really rich in these, and also antioxidants. So most berries have antioxidants which fight against free radicals, and free radicals cause aging and wrinkling and, fast aging. I mean, we all age, but, with our today's society of processed foods, it's so important to get antioxidants in your food to fight against the free radicals. And blackberries are very high in antioxidants. They help manage diabetes because of their fiber and their blood sugar levels. It will actually help with that and increase insulin sensitivity. The fiber will lower inflammation and increase a feeling of fullness. The vitamin K is good for blood clotting, so it actually is a styptic, just like yarrow is, and you can use its leaves and so forth, and we'll talk about that in a minute, as a styptic to stop bleeding, and also drink the tea for internal bleeding. Anti-inflammatory, it will lower your inflammatory markers. It's got brain functioning because probably the polyphenols in there and the manganese and all these different vitamins and minerals that are so high. It's super high in potassium. It's got 1 cup of blackberries is 1/2 of the potassium of banana. So helpful for Parkinson's disease, all kinds of things. So the things that I like to cook with. So let's talk about its edibleness. In the early spring, I like to get those little leaves and put them into vinegar and make a really powerful vinegar, and then use that for my salad dressings. So you can do that, but that's in the spring. And we'll talk about that next spring when we get there, so you don't miss out on it. I probably told you about it this year as well. I love to make syrup. So we made this syrup, and once you've got a syrup, you can do so much with this. You can make cordials, you can make wine, you can make like a glaze. Pancakes, absolutely. Or just take, especially if you make it a little more medicinal by adding some of those other herbs we talked about earlier, ginger. Jason hates ginger, but some, star anise. That could be a really good medicine, especially for children, because kids sometimes wouldn't like eating the leaf as much or the root, but the fruit is really got a lot of power in its pack. Okay. You can also make ice cream out of it, yogurt. You can just do anything you would do with any berry, of course. Popsicles, I made those last year. It was fun. You can eat them whole in salads, on yogurt. You can make a dip. A dip that I made was I took blackberries and I put a little bit of whole mustard in it and then added some honey and mix that all up. And you can use that for a dip with chicken, like chicken nuggets, stuff like that. Blackberry crisp, blackberry crumble, blackberry cobbler, blackberry muffins, blackberry pie, blackberry cheesecake, cake bars, scones, etc. You can make salsas, chutneys. All of these I've got recipes for. I'll be putting onto my Patreon page. So I'm excited to share that with you. Okay, so that's how we eat it, and all of the nutrition. So that's really an example of letting food be your medicine and medicine be your food. So let's talk about the medicinal gifts. So we talked about, I found out that the Bach flower blackberry it's a remedy for confusion. I don't have that Bach flower remedy, but I think that's kind of interesting. So it's an alternative. So let's talk about astringent first. So an astringent, it is absolutely famous for diarrhea. I'm not sure how to spell that. But the root in particular, so you can take that root and just boil it. You can actually boil it, decoct it down, and then drink that, and it will stop diarrhea on a dime. It is powerful. Or you can just make it into a tincture, which I have here, blackberry root. I even wrote diarrhea on there. And I always love to make tinctures with that I use with berries and stuff with brandy. And this was the root, so I did use the brandy just because it's in the berry family. So what else did I want to say about that? Okay, when you have diarrhea, it's your body saying there's bacteria, and so you want to have a few diarrheal episodes and get rid of all of that bad stuff that's causing the diarrhea. But then after you're starting to dehydrate and it's gone on for too long, that's when you want to pull out the big guns, and diarrhea is like completely eliminated quickly with blackberry roots. So I would recommend that. You can also powder the root and put it into pills if you want to take it that way, or drink it as a tea, a decoction, and that's pretty powerful, or just take it as a tincture, which is what I've done many times. So that's awesome. It is also an alterative, which means it will alter the state of your health to be optimal. So if your body needs to higher blood pressure or lower blood pressure, it will do that. If it needs to build up your blood, it will do that. It's got a lot of iron in it. So an alternative just kind of alters your state. It also will has the ability to lower blood sugar levels, which people recommend using it for diabetics as an alternative to regular tea or coffee. So the leaves are, this is a tea made with blackberry and raspberry, nettle and oat leaves mixed together. Super toning because of the astringency of the organs, and internal bleeding even is, if you have internal bleeding, go to the doctor. But I'm just saying this is something really powerful. You can also make it into think about what would you need astringency for with your gums or prostate or anything that tends to swell. This is an amazing plant for toning and tightening those tissues. Even your nasal cavities, if they're leaking a lot of fluid. Jim McDonald has so much to say about this. He has so much respect for this plant, but it's the leaf in particular that you would drink or make into a mouthwash that you could gargle for sore throat or to tighten up loose gums that are bleeding or spongy. Okay, let's see. Okay. So we were talking about the seeds. If you dry them out and grind them, they have essential fatty acids that are antiseptic. They're seed medicine. There's a potency there. And so I was listening to Cascade Geller talking about this, and she said that don't get rid of your seeds. Save them, put them in a coffee mill or a mortar and pestle, and then turn them into something you can put into your smoothies. And so that would be a powerful way of using the seeds. And she said whole people eat whole foods. And so we tend not to eat our watermelon seeds and our apple seeds and stuff, but frankly, there's an awful lot of potency in those seeds. Blackberries have lots of seeds. Okay. She also talked about, and this is something I've never done, she said that you can take the early shoots, the immature shoots, the meristematic shoots, and you can take off the prickles because they're really tender, and you can use those to make pesto with or to eat like you would asparagus. And so that's something I'm going to try next year. I'm always learning, and every time I learn something, I do it. And that's why people go, Holly, how do you know so much? It's because I don't just learn, I learn and then I do. And so I want to recommend you do the same. So when you learn from me, then say, I'm going to take these 3 or 10 or 15 things that Holly talked about, and I'm going to go do them, or just even one. So that is how little by little you will grow. All right. So this is interesting. So the alterative, or the blood tonic, blackberry is great for building the blood and counteracting anemia. Drinking a daily dose of blackberry syrup will help tone up your blood. So let's see. The antioxidants for aging. Oh, you can make a poultice with the leaves. So you would just chop that up a little bit of, actually you could just chew it up and then put that on a bleeding area or a wound, and it's an antiseptic, so it will clean things out, and it will also stop the bleeding just like yarrow does. And yarrow is miraculous. So I have never tried blackberry for that, and I can't wait to try it. I have used it for a mouthwash. I do love that. As a diuretic, it's also a diuretic. It increases the flow of urine, and it tones your liver and your kidneys. You can make a tea with its leaves and add the berries for flavor like I did here. It's got a very cooling, kind of like peppermint. You can even add a little bit of peppermint to that, but peppermint has a way, it's a diaphoretic as well as of really boosting the fever and cooling your body. And so blackberry has some of those similar medicinal qualities. You can make a poultice for an insect bite. Did you know these things, Bethany?
No.
Isn't it amazing? It just is so incredible. So there's so much more to this plant than meets the eye that we've known about or that I've known about, and I'm excited about delving into it even more. So let me show you what I've done. So this is, I made this one probably a couple years ago. This is blackberry leaf. I made this with Scotch whiskey, and this is particularly good for H. pylori. So let me read that to you so that I don't mess it up. I want to make sure I say it right. So the time of year to dig up the roots, by the way, is right after a rainfall and in the early spring or late fall. Tincture them for treating a severe bout of diarrhea. We talked about that. Blackberry leaf is antimicrobial and has been found to inhibit Helicobacter pylori or H. pylori in the stomach. H. pylori is a bacteria that's been linked to chronic gastritis and gastric ulcers, as well as the development of duodenal ulcers and stomach cancer. So, wow, that's crazy. So that's the leaf. So I've got the leaf, and the leaf can also be used for stomach aches and nausea, but the root is particularly good for the diarrhea, as we've talked about. You can also take this tincture and put this into a mouthwash with some witch hazel and maybe a little bit of monk fruit or something, so it tastes a little bit sweeter, and then use that as a mouthwash. So that would be powerful too, especially if you've got periodontal issues and need to tighten up your gums. Okay, so I hope that was informative to you, and I want to talk about, this is out of ink, so I can't write this on here, but your field work for this week is going to be, oh, you've got one? Okay. Your field work is going to be to write a poem about blackberry and to cook with blackberry. So I'm going to put a post on our Wild Blessings with Holly Drake page of blackberry recipes, and I'll be posting, we're going to be eating a lot of blackberry this week, and I'll be posting my pictures and my recipes, and you guys do the same in the comments, and that way it can keep it all together. If you're looking for something on our site, you can just look up under the topics, and that'll probably be called Eat Wild. And you can see all the things about eating wild or all the crossword puzzles. And I actually created a blackberry crossword puzzle already. And so you could print that out. I'll be putting that up on our site as well. You can print that out and have your kids do it yourself as a good way of reviewing what I've taught you. I forgot to tell you that the berries are not actual berries. They're called, I can't remember what it's called, drupelets. And I'm not sure exactly what a druplet is. If any of you know what it is, probably Suzanne, I'm sure you do. Please type it in so we can learn with you. But it's different from a fruit, and I'm not exactly sure what that difference is. So I'll be learning about that as well. So do the crossword puzzle. So that'll be one thing. And find a blackberry patch. If you don't have blackberry, I will show you how you can get it. You just want to go to a friend in the early spring and get some of their blackberry canes. All you need is 6 inches or so, and you can just stick that right into the soil and keep it watered and have it like in a large 5-gallon bucket or something, and they will actually grow, and it's very easy to do that way. I think that would be, if I had my druthers, I would rather be able to grow them in a very nicely cultivated way, but it's kind of an adventure to hike this mountain and find them all over as kind of special treats. So
Well, do you have any tips though, if you're out hiking where you're looking for blackberries? Do you have any tips about where they're most likely to be found?
Yeah, you'll find them in full sun, and you'll find them where the land has been disturbed. So anywhere there's been a clear cut, Lord of mercy, they'll be there in spades, and it's just challenging to get to them. So one thing I've learned is wear your boots and wear thick jeans, wear long sleeves, wear good gloves, put your hair back or up so that it's not getting pulled at, And you can literally step on top of those canes to get back to the abundance that's a little bit out of reach. And then I wanted to also share this, is that when you're getting excited because you see, oh my gosh, look at all those blackberries that are ripe and they're like 15 feet back in the brambles. Be careful. Always think about our friend poison ivy, Toxodendron radicans, because it's probably going to be very close by and you might just step right into a patch of it and get the uroshiol all over your boots. Yes, sir.
Okay, we've got about 5 minutes left. Were there some things that you wanted to show from that you weren't able to show before? Some of the plants that you've got
I
here?
will, but I really need to finish giving you your homework assignments. Okay, so the other way that you can get more of the blackberry, and this is so fascinating, is you can tip the end of the canes like in the early summer, and they will then create like branching from not just the tip, but all along the cane that would not have come up if you hadn't tipped it. Just take off the top 5 inches or so, and that will create so much more. Cutting them back, the second year plants, after they've bloomed, is a great way to make sure that no energy is going into that second year cane and all of the energy is going into creating new life. So there's ways to make it more. Also, I think if I were to have them on my land growing them, I would do them in 5-gallon buckets and I would use cow fences that I could trellis them up through. And that way it would be a lot less invasive of your prime real estate of your land. And that would be amazing. I've seen a lot of videos where people do that. And I'm thinking, well, that would be nice, but that's not something I'm going to do. But it is, if you do it, let me know. I'd love to know what you do with your harvest as well. Okay, so find blackberry and then cook with it, and then please post pictures on our group, and then please write a blackberry poem, because I think that this amazing Rubus plant needs to be celebrated. So I will be picking what I'm going to do is take all of the things that you guys have cooked and all the poems that you provide and putting all of those names into my computer generator. And I'm going to pick a winner from that. So you can win, not just by writing a poem, but also by cooking with blackberries and sharing that with us. So that would be fun. And then the last thing is memorize our memory work, which is James. I'm going to fill out this board well because right now it's not filled at all. So let's just talk about it again. Be patient like a farmer who waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for rain. And so remember, as we're waiting in our life, the most important things that we do are sometimes not done. And waiting, it seems like inactivity, but it's actually faith-filled action of our will. And it takes believing that God's timing is perfect. It takes resting and calming and quieting your spirit and realizing that God's ways are perfect and just getting into the flow, into the sync with that, which we talked a lot about back in March. So talking of getting into the flow and the sync, everything that's on my counter right now is out free for the knowing and the picking. And so I'm going to be talking about everything that you see here. This amazingly beautiful poison hemlock is just crying out to have my class. And so I promise, I will do my class on the mystifying white umbellifers. And this is one of them. And the reason why I took it down and put it here now is because it's literally losing its umbels, it's losing its white flowers, and it's going to seed. So when I get rid of this, it's going right into a 40-gallon trash bag. I'm not going to go take this and put this on my compost bin or onto a leaf pile because I do not want these seeds to reseed on my land. This is one of the most toxic plants in North America, but I also have the most toxic plant in North America. And this one is already completely gone to seed, and very little bit of the flowers are showing left. The leaves, this is also a hemlock, but this is water hemlock. This one is a very lovely way of dyeing. If you have to dye, the Hemlock Society chooses this plant for purposeful. This one, because it just paralyzes you.
The poison hemlock.
The poison hemlock. This one here, how did you describe it? You had some really obnoxious way of describing the death.
I don't remember that.
Well, it's violent and it's prolonged and maybe 5 hours or so.
And tell me again, you were trying to describe the difference. How do you know the difference? Because the flowers
Are almost identical.
Identical.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they're both really tall and they both have really slick and slimy stems, and they both have a little bit of purple on the stems. This one is much more modulated. The stems are also hollow, like a lot of the plants in the parsley family are. See the purple at the axis there. But these leaves, this is the only leaf in the world where the leaf venation will go out between the notches and not out to the tip of the serration. See, can you see that on the other side? And look at how much fatter they are, and look at how much more feathery the poison hemlock is. So we're going to do a whole class on all of the plants that look like this, because there's a lot of them. And it's so, so, so important to know. And it's extremely important, not because we're going to eat these. Like, I wouldn't expect that you would necessarily go eat this, but you might weed whack it and end up getting contact dermatitis. These two particular plants don't do that as much, but you could get it blowing into your mouth or your eyes or whatever and cause all kinds of problems. So yeah, this one you would die with nausea, vomiting, things coming out both ends, green coming out of your eyes. It's just gross. So this is not a plant you would ever want to consume. I wanted to also show you that the milkweed, can you see those pods? I'm trying to. I'm stuck on the bee balm. But the milkweed pods are out, free for the knowing and the taking. So this is the perfect time where they're really, really hard and small. Actually, they're turning into cheese as we speak. But the smaller ones, like this one here, this is the perfect size for a potato. So these you would just cook them up like you would okra, slice them up, cook them in bacon grease, and have them with fried eggs and bacon. So, so good. When they get into the cheese stage, I'm going to be doing a whole class on this, so I should probably just shut up. But you go right along this. See, yeah, this is the cheese stage. See, the seeds have yet to turn beige or brown, so they're still tasty. And watch. It's so good. So sweet. Has like a chew factor of a mozzarella cheese stick. So, so, so good. Now, so I'll be talking about everything that's on my counter and talking about the roots that are for sale right now, free for the knowing, the picking, all the way to the seeds and the fruits. The harvest is coming in, guys, and there's so much.
I'm sorry, but since we're talking about things, I can smell what you put in the oven. Can we look at it? Can we at least see if it's ready?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to tell you about my black fryer sauce. So this is blackberries and a little bit of strawberries with some maple syrup. And I'm going to add a little bit of orange to that. And this is our lunch. Jason, do you want to eat this for lunch? Let's take a look at it.
It may be hard to do, but
I don't think it's quite ready.
yeah,
it needs to be browned a little bit.
Yeah, a little more brown.
Yeah, this will be so good. So excited. So we're going to put the black fryer sauce, which I've got the recipe for you guys, and over top of it, and probably have some bacon and dandelion root coffee. So it's going to be tasty. Anyway, I want to thank my lovely assistant for helping me teach. Thank you, Bethany. Thank you for helping me gather and forage. And I cannot wait to read your poems about Blackberry, and I can't wait to see the things you cook with it. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy to share my passions, the things I've learned. Like I told you, I learned by doing. Please support me on Patreon. Please share with your friends. I would love to see our community grow. I'd love to light wildfires. I would love for people to feel confident with what God has provided all around us, free for the knowing and the picking. So I'll see you next week, same time, same station for Teaching Tuesday. We'll be talking about what's on nature's wave right now.